In any country where the rule of law is allowed, rule of force by self-help is abandoned. Once the rule of law is allowed to operate, all authorities, including the military, must kowtow to the rule of law. Not a KPSC court, a court of justice. But you know what that lady did yesterday? Is to tell the people in Abuja, we all collectively own this country. And none of us must also take that home. Last week, about the same time, one minister in Abuja, I think the FCT minister, Mr. Wiki, asked the body of benchers to go and grab a lawyer. You know, if you want to discipline a lawyer, you will write a petition. He said, don't wait for petition. Just call him, you wrote this, and discipline him. So for them, rule of law, due process, nonsensical. Now it is self-help. What I title my paper is rule of rulers, not rule of law. Rule of law means all of us are bound by the law. We are treated equally by the law. We must comply with the law, including the government. But that's not like the case in Nigeria. What you now have is rule of ruler, rule of cabinet. Whatever they say, nobody must challenge it. Again, I think I want to thank Femi here. But 3 weeks ago, a youth corps member expressed her views about the president, about the ongoings in the country. They summoned her. They were going to deal with her. Obviously, they would have extended her service. She would have led members of his party to the NYC headquarters. They ran away. Because the guilty are always afraid. Just last week, a student in Asaba, School of Nursing, was alleged to have sent out, in this age of science and technology, a video recording of the wife of the president, where everybody knows his father now, everybody knows his mother. So why was I calling my mother? But that was an offense. She was already queried. But because of the anger of the youths and Nigerians in the social media, it was the governor of the state who ordered the commissioner of health, go and stop that Bawukun exercise there. And that was how that girl was free. The point I'm making therefore, all of us must see injustice to one as injustice to another. Please, for those of you in the social media, I beg you, increase, intensify by joining issues with them. They are judging figures now that things are getting better. Are you not aware? The judging figure. This is a change rate. They now say oil is coming down to 750. How do you take it? Where do you take it from? They say the dollar, the naira dollar is improving. How? How much was it when you came to power? Our people say, "Oh, Shabo, so if you cannot improve my life, please leave me where you met me."
So I know most of you have seen this video on Sahara, where Femi Falana talked on how to give a speech on, and I think during the memorial of one of the, people who have been a voice and a critic of bad governance in Nigeria. But I decided to take a bit of the areas where he talked about the judiciary, because I thought in addressing the areas of our country where we want to fix, which is everything in a way, judiciary comes to be one of the most critical bit, because in the last couple of years, last 20, 30 years, the judiciary has actually played a role in deciding who becomes our governors and our presidents. Case in point, Edo State, for example, which was decided just this week that the current governor or the declared winner is actually the one who won by throwing out all the cases brought before it by the appeals court. Or the tribunal anyway. But the emphasis here is this: judiciary at the moment has fallen into the hands of corrupt individuals. And just like Femi Falana mentioned, we need to intensify, we need to increase our voice. We need to call for more transparency in the way judgments are rendered. And that is what my talk about today is all about in this video. Okay, so if you're meeting this content for the first time, please like, share, and subscribe. If you've been following us and you're not yet subscribed, please do so. But I want you to watch this to the end. The judiciary is more or less decided for us who our presidents and our governors have become so far. And we can see the end point of it. There are cases all over the country where we can check and see what the judiciary has given to us and what we asked for, and you can see the resultant effect of it. Every state that the judiciary has decided who the governor is, go and check the outcome of that state. Destruction. Imo State, destruction. Edo State at the moment, crisis. Insecurity, just as the governor promised he was going to bring to them. Now let's take Nigeria, because it's the judiciary that told us and ratified Bola Tinubu for Nigeria. What's happening in Nigeria? Chaos. And the same president is out of the country. But that's not the main point I want to discuss. What I want to discuss about is our pursuit for a better society where rule of law trounces every other rule. It trounces rules like the rule of man, the rules of kings. Because as Femi Falana put it, what they say must be obeyed. They have become above the law. So we are subject to the law, but their words are above the law. I'll take a case in point. Natasha Akpoti had a case in court and told the court restrained the Senate from actually hearing the case until they can go through several processes. The Senate went ahead and did their own inquiries, sanctioned and suspended Natasha, and then went to court and asked the court to vacate the case. Can you see the stupidity in the whole process? But still, it was still done. That's the kind of process we follow in Nigeria, where when you call out government officials, you're clamped down. Just like Femi Falana said, most of the things that we faced and has happened in our country in the last 6 months, especially, if it wasn't for the fact that people like you and I were outspoken, if we're not speaking out, they would have gotten their way. For example, the riot girl that called Tinubu a terrible president, if the people hadn't spoken out, first of all, if she had not gotten that courage to speak up and come to social media and say, this is what is happening, they would have gotten away with it. The one in the Delta State where those people were singing their mother and all of those, if the people had not spoken up, they would have gotten away with it. At every given point in time when we speak up, they try to clamp down on us. Look at the case he mentioned of Wike telling the body law benches to sanction Professor Chidi Odin-Kalu. For what? Public criticism, which is a natural thing for democracy to thrive. That's one of the hallmarks of a thriving democracy, where the citizen can call out I employ you to work for me. That's what public service is all about. The president works for me and you. Your lawmakers work for me and you. So I call out the lawmaker, and guess what? The lawmaker gets angry and tells the body of benches, or the public servant gets angry and tells the body of benches to sanction me for criticizing him. Somebody I employed. We have to start to look at our public servants, whether they are ministers or presidents. We have to look at them as public servants. That's their title. Whether they are president, they are public servants because we came together and elected them. If that's according to what they say and according to INEX results, they said we employed them. So you should be ready for us to criticize you if we employed you. And this is where the judiciary come into play. You have to make sure you fight for the rule of law. When there's no rule of law, there's chaos. Remember the words of Peter Obi. There's chaos all over the country. So we need to intensify and then point our flashlights in the directions of the judiciary. At the moment, we don't have any functional judiciary. Our judiciary has collapsed. If you think it's a joke, have a case in court and see what happens. We don't have a judiciary at the moment. Ask anyone who's been to court with cases, they will tell you. And that's where this impunity comes from our public servants. For example, we call the president to order because first take this for example. The president leaves the country when there's a state of emergency. You pronounce the state of emergency in a state and went to France for a working visit for 2 weeks. Nigerians are dying all over the country. Elders are killing Nigerians, but the president of the country goes to France for 2 weeks assessment, working visit, and then he will appraise himself. The one person that appraised that, who was rare, she was almost clamped down for appraising the president, somebody she employed, according to INEC. Whether you voted for him or not is irrelevant. The point is that he says the majority voted for him. Yes. So now it means that we all employed you because you're serving everybody, not just the majority that voted for him. So when the people criticize you or assess your presidency or your premiership, then you know they employed you. But you went to France and going to assess yourself in France to give yourself a scorecard. Nobody gives themselves a scorecard. The people assesses them and then decides whether or not you pass the threshold. But in this case, the president leaves the country in a state of chaos and goes to France for 2 weeks. And I bet you would have been longer if they believe that Nigerians wouldn't have criticized them. It's because of you and I are speaking up. That's why. And we have to take that same intensity as Femi Falana did admonish. Take that same intensity to the judiciary. We need to help free the judiciary from the hands of these criminals and politicians. There's no law and order in Nigeria anymore. There's no rule of law. We are operating by the rule of the people, the big men in Nigeria, the rule of the big men where they can just impound somebody, put them in prison. That's it. Use the police, use the IG to impound people and just lock them up and give them for a bit and then release them later. There's no rule of law. No one follows any rule of law. See what they did to Dele Farotimi then. Impounded him across 5 states and jailed him for an offense that does not exist. There's no rule of law. That's why we have to increase the intensity. You don't stop. That's why when you're following this channel, when you're listening to this, you continue to listen, you continue to share and subscribe if you've not done so. Because we have to do it. If we don't do it, we are going to be left in the hands of these people and their cronies. And we don't want it. We want the same rule to bind every one of us and to operate by that same rule. I wanted to just pour this out today because I want everyone to listen to it. And then let us know what you think in the comment section. If you agree to what Femi Falana said. But above all, let us know if you've had a case in court before. We want to know, share with the public. So we can start to bring these things to the light. Again, those things that we've talked about in our bedroom, we're bringing out. That's what this channel is all about. It's your avenue to share your experience. And then let every other person join in sharing their own experience as well. And then let the government start to look at it as well. The times where we don't talk to them, those days are gone. This is the times where we let them. This is a different generation. We are a different generation, the ones that cannot be shut down anymore. We will speak for better governance because we deserve it. Again, as always, if you're meeting this content for the first time, like, share, and subscribe. And if you've been following us and you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, like, share, and also contribute in the comment section. Until then, in the next video, I'll catch you up. But for now, God bless you. Have a good time. Bye-bye for now.